Hello everyone, welcome to Zaref Game Dev. In this video, I am going to create the circle game in Unity. So it's another Ketchapp clone, and if you want to see how the game is played, you can download it from the Play Store. And we are going to create some of the functionalities here. And if you like the video, do like and subscribe the channel and drop a comment below. So let's start creating the game. So as you can see, I have the basic scene setup, and that these are the folders for the prefabs, the scenes in which I have created the gameplay scene, and then we have a scripts folder in which I have all my scripts, and the last one is the sprites folder, which you can get it from the GitHub link below. And I've already installed the text mesh pro. Let's first now add the score. So the score is going to be from the top. Let's increase the width to 500 and height to 150, and let's increase its font size. Let's make it 00, color black, and let's set its font size to 96 and negative 250, and this one's going to be positioned at negative 7500, and let's make it bold, and let's move it toward the right, and instead of negative 250, let's have it negative 300. So that's where our score is going to be, and after having our score, let's create our start panel. So it's going to be a button. Let's what should we add? Let's create an empty, and then we'll add button to it. So let's just call it start, and for this start, we are going to position covering the whole screen, and let's add a button component to it, and no color tint, and this button is going to be clicked whenever the we want to start the game. So next, let's add all the functionalities. So the first thing we'll add is the title text, which is the circle. So let's create a text mesh pro, and let's call it title, and we'll do it everything inside, and let's call it circle. It's going to be capital letter, position towards the center. Let's increase its width to 1000 and height 250, and if we make it 250, maybe too large, 160, 190, 2. So that's how it's going to look, and let's position upwards, so let's make it 700. So that's the title of the text. Let's duplicate this title, and we'll just call it start text. And for the start text, let's decrease its size to 160, and it's going to say tap to play, and it's a little bit higher, so let's decrease its 144, and we'll position it at 500, and it's still pretty much large, so let's decrease it to 128. So this is how the start text is going to look. Now after having tap to play, we'll need one for the score. So let's duplicate this tap to play, and we'll call this best, and instead of tap to play, it's going to call best. Let's position it at negative 500, and again we'll duplicate the best, and this one's going to be for the best count, and this one let's have it 00, and let's position it negative 700 or maybe 650. So this one's going to show a best score. And for the colors, let's first add this sprite to the scene, and let's change every color to match this line color, so it looks almost similar. Now that's how the start screen is going to look. Now let's duplicate the start and we'll just call it end. And it's not going to have the button component, and inside the end component the title is going to be similar, but instead of the start text we'll call it end text, and tap to play it's going to be game over. And here we'll have couple of buttons. So first let's create a UI and let's create an image, and this one let's add it to the screen, and we need to set this image. So this one's for the score. We'll set its color to match and 600 and 150, 175. And similarly we'll attach a text to it, so text mesh pro, and we'll call it score count. And for this score count let's have it 00. Let's make it bold and let's increase the size to 128. And if we increase its size to 600 and height to 150, position it toward the center, so this one's going to show our score. And after we show our score, we'll need two buttons. So the first one's for the restart button, and similarly we'll use the 600 by 175, and we'll use the dark color. And for the text it's going to be the whitish color, and let's make it 128, and it's going to say restart. Let's have it bold, capitalized, and 96. And let's duplicate this restart and we'll rename it to quit, and we'll just call it quit. And restart's going to position its center. Let's duplicate this y 250 and this negative 225, and the score to 200. So that's how it's going to look. So this is our end screen, and let's hide the score. So this is how the end screen is going to look. This color is going to show the score, and these are the two buttons. And if we hide our end panel, we should be able to see our start screen. So that's how the start screen is going to look. And now let's create a game manager. And we already created the game manager script, so we'll attach the game manager script, and let's increase the camera size to 15. So you won't be able to see the difference now, but we'll see it afterwards. So where were we? Main camera. I don't know what it's happening. Visible and visible. Okay, so now it's visible. So now we have our main camera. Let's first, I think let's create our circle. So let's first create an empty and we'll call it circle, and let's reset its transform. For now, we are not able to see, but let's attach this to the circle. So now it's positioned almost at the center, and we'll also attach this one. And if we make it negative 0.78, you should be able to see something like this. And for our main camera, let's set its size to somewhat around 12. 15. And let's attach the camera follow script to the main camera. So the main camera is having the camera follow script, our circles at the center, and let's increase the circle scale to 2. And inside our circle, we'll need the 2 death triggers. And this one's also going to need a box collider 2D with a rigid body 2D. And for we'll set up it inside its inspector, and let's create empty, and we'll call it death 1. And let's go inside our scene, and first let's attach a box collider to it, and let's increase the size to 0.3 by 0.3. And if we increase this height to, it's increasing too fast, let's just change it from here. So that's where it's going to lie, 1.835. And similarly it's going to have death script, and we'll also need to attach a rigid body 2D. It needs to be simulated, gravity scale to 0, and we'll use a fixed joint 2D. And for the rigid body we are going to connect it to the circle, so it attaches to the circle. Because if we attach a rigid body, this circle and this circle will follow the main circle's rigid body, but because it has its own position, it won't follow it. So move to back, move down, and let's move down. And let's also duplicate this depth, rename it to depth 2, and instead of positive 1.835, we'll position it at negative 1.835. So that should do the trick for our player. So for now the game should look something like this. And now let's attach our circle, and this one's going to be line, and instead of simple we'll make it sliced 16 by 1. And order in layer we need to change for the background circle, so let's change its order in layer to -1, so it looks, and this one's order in layer to 1, and rest are 0, so everything would be in between. And for the line, let's attach a box collider 2D, and we'll also set its tag to respawn, and we'll set the box collider 2D to be the trigger tag, and let's save it as a prefab, and we'll delete it from the scene. So so we have almost the basic scene setup. Now let's see what we need to do. Let's create the player movement first, and we'll also create the functionality for the start. So we'll start by creating the player movement. So let's go into Visual Studio, and I already opened up the uh, first the game manager script. Now we'll open up the player script. So inside the player, let's first delete everything, and similarly inside the game manager we'll delete everything, death, and the camera follow. So let's what should we create first? So let's create the death, now maybe game manager. So let's first add the game manager instance, and inside the awake function, if instance is equals to null, then we'll do instance is equals to this, else destroy the game object. And let's create a serialized field, private game object, score object, then the start button, and finally the end panel. And let's also one for the circle, or maybe whatever you want to call player. So set active to false, and panel dot set active to false, and we'll show the start button. Inside the start, we'll initialize all the variables, but before that, let's create the public void game restart. So inside the game restart, we'll just call unity engine dot scene management dot scene manager dot load scene 0. And let's also create our game quit. And inside the game quit, we'll just call application dot quit. And if we are inside the unity editor, then we'll call the unity editor dot editor application dot explain to false, and we'll add this. And after that, let's create the layer. So first, private rigid body 2D RB, and private bool can jump. Start can jumps going to be false, and RB is going to be get component R2D. And simulated is going to false, and afterwards inside the update, if can jump, then will return, not can jump, then will return, and if input dot get mouse button down of 0, then we'll set its velocity. RB dot velocity is going to be up plus right. Into speed, and let's have the speed as a serialized speed. Private float speed is equals to 10. And let's add the game manager dot instance dot update score. So for now we are not going to, let's just add it. Public void update score, and inside our player, let's also attach a public void game start. So can jump is equals to true, RB dot simulated is equals to true, and RB dot velocity is similarly going to be, let's just, so we have our velocity, and then we need to start following. So camera dot main dot get component camera follow, And inside our camera follow component, we'll call the start following. And we'll need to create the start following. Can jump is equals to false. So player, uh, player is done, and let's create the depth. So the depth, it's just going to have on trigger enter 2D, and here if collision dot compare tag, and we have the tag of respawn, and we'll call the game manager dot instance dot game, and similarly we'll need to create the game end function. So before the update score, let's create the game end function. And public void start following. So it should not show any errors. So the depth is working correctly. The player is also done almost all the work. Now let's create a camera follow. So the camera follow is just going to follow the camera. And to follow the camera, let's create a private float offset, then transform player pause, and the public, let's just have it public rule. Why is it void rule can follow, and inside the start can follow is going to be true false. And when we start following, can follow is going to be true, and player pause is going to be game object dot find, and we'll need to find the player, and we'll get its transform. Yep, not player, we have renamed it as the circle. And let's also get the offset is going to be the transform dot position dot x minus player pause dot position dot x. And let's also create the stop following, and inside the stop following the can follow is going to be false. And let's do the fixed update, and inside the fixed update we'll change the camera's position. So if not player pause or not can follow, then we'll just return. If it cannot follow, or if there does not exist any player, then we return vector3 temp is equals to transform dot position temp dot x is equals to player pose dot position dot x plus offset, and transform dot position is going to be temp, and float, let's calculate the offset y. Transform dot position dot y minus position dot y. If mathf dot abs of the offset y is greater than 10f is almost so much large, let's have it 8f. Then we'll call the move vertical coroutine. So let's create that coroutine I enumerator, and we'll call it move vertical. and we'll call the coroutine vertical. And inside the move vertical coroutine, we'll move so offset y is going to be and while mathf dot abs of offset y is greater than 0.1f, then we'll move the yield return null. Let's do yield return null. Offset y minus equals to, let's do time dot delta time into 0.25 and let's multiply by offset y. So 0.32f, and we'll do transform dot translate transform dot position dot y minus player dot position dot y. So if it is higher than player 0 0 0, and here we'll pass the and put a negative sign to the front. So that should do the move vertical trick, and that's it for the camera. Follow the player and let's start creating a game manager. So the game manager will need to have all the texts, and after creating serialized field private game object, and let's just call it circle. Hmm. Okay, we already added it. So let's create a serialized field private tmp text, and that's going to be for the score text, score and text, high score text, and the high score and text. And next we'll have to store the scores and the best scores, and line prefab, serialized field, vector 3 start pose, serialized field, private float offset. And after hanger offset, let's create a direction. So private vector 3, current direction. And for now, let's initialize everything in the start. So score is equals to 0, I score is equals to player prefs dot ASCII I score. Then we'll go for the player prefs dot get int of I score. Else we'll set it to 0, and the score text dot text is going to be score dot toString, and I score text dot text is going to be I score dot toString. And the current direction is going to be the right direction. And afterwards, let's create our object score. So we'll increase the score plus plus score text dot text is going to be score dot to string. And hmm, let's create our game start. So we are initializing it from the players. So inside the game start, we'll just call start panel start button dot set active to false, and we'll show the score object, and circle dot get component player dot game start. And let's now do the game end function. So inside the game end, circle dot get component player dot game over, and after the game over, we'll call game over player. Yep, let's call it from the player. And instead of start following, we'll call the stop following. Let's calculate the high score. If score is greater than high score, then high score is equals to score. Player prep starts second, and we'll set the high score to the high score. And afterwards, we need to hide the score object and show the end panel and set up the text. And also for the high score. So that will do for the game end condition and update score. Hmm. So everything should almost be set up. Now let's see if our player is moving. And for now, we'll have not spawned the obstacles, but we'll spawn it directly by putting. So this is our score object. Let's go inside Unity. This is our score object. Then we have the start button, the end panel, the circle, and our line prefab, which is inside the prefabs. And for the start position, it's going to start at -16. And let's also attach all the texts. So the first text is the score text. Next we have the score and text. So it should be inside the image, and image, let's rename it to score and inside the game manager, use best count high score, and here's best count for the score end. And now our player should be able to move, but we have not attached anything. And where is our circle? Okay, we'll need to attach the player script to the circle and that script. So let's hit play, and there should not be any problems. So as I already played before, there is already a high score, and let's attach all the functions. So inside the game manager, we'll attach the game start function, And inside our restart, we'll attach our game restart function. And similarly, inside our quit, we'll attach the game quit function. So let's now hit play and let's see. We are able to move upwards and the velocity is changing. And there's the problem with the gravity scale. So let's change this both mass to 0.01 so it does not weigh down. And the circles gravity scale to 5. So if we now hit play, we should be able to see the circle moving and our score counts increasing. We need to click to have it stop falling, and it's not bouncing upwards. We'll change the inside the circle. Let's change the speed to 15 f. So now as you can see, it's almost bouncing correctly. And uh, let's set private floor speed right up. So let's set it to 4, and you should be able to see the circle moving. So we have not seen our end screen. So let's create a couple of lines. So the first line is here. Let's duplicate it. We'll position it around here. Let's select this to duplicate and position it around here. So now we should be able to check our game end condition. Respawn is not defined. Okay, we didn't change its tag. RESPAWN. Okay, we didn't rename it correctly. So instead of respawn, we'll call it respawn. Now let's hit play and the game should be able to end. So if we are restart, we are able to restart. And so let's delete these lines and we'll instantiate procedurally in our game manager. We'll just instantiate 100 of them at the start point. So that's the only thing that's remaining. So let's go inside Visual Studio and we'll start spawning our obstacles. So we'll start spawning inside our start function and void spawn obstacle. And let's do the invoke repeating, and we are going to call the spawn obstacle and at 0 time and suppose 16 and we are moving 15 units. So let's not change this and we'll call it after 0.5 seconds or maybe around 1 second. And let's do the spawn obstacle, and inside the spawn obstacle let's first create the current obstacle, and it's going to be instantiate of the line prefab. And let's create a rotation quaternion dot angle axis, and here we'll pass the random dot range from -2 to 3 into 15f. -3 to 4 into 15f, and inside the forward direction. Now current obstacle dot transform dot rotation is going to be our rotation, and afterwards let's get the current angle. Current angle is phi, and phi math f dot phi into rotation dot z divided by 180. So that should get our current angle, and let's get our current direction. So current direction is going to be new vector 3, and here we'll pass the math f dot cos of current angle, and let's pass 0 0 for now, and here we'll pass math f dot sine of current angle. So that's our direction. Now what we'll do is move the current obstacle dot transform dot position is going to be the start position at which we are starting, plus the current direction into offset and at the half point, so 0.5f, and we'll increase the start pose by the direction to offset. So that should start spawning on objects every 1 second, and whenever we hit start it's already spawning. So let's hit play and it should be working. So let's hit play and let's see, we have okay. So there was a problem. We'll need to first spawn two obstacles, so let's spawn obstacle and spawn obstacle, and now let's hit play. So maybe there should not be any problems, but we'll see. So we have start close plus current direction into offset into 0.5f. So what went wrong? New vector 3 current angle. Okay, we didn't, not rotation dot z, rotation dot Euler angles dot z. So that was the problem. We need to get the Euler angles instead of the rotation. So let's now play and you should be able to see, and yep, everything is working, but we need to spawn this both at spawn start obstacle. Let's create a new function for it. And instead of spawn obstacle, we'll call the spawn start. And inside our spawn start, let's copy this, and we don't need the rotation, current angle, current direction. And we'll repeat it one more times, and we remove the another var. So now there should not be any problems. So as you can see, we are able to move, and the game is also able to finish. And for the line size, we'll increase it by some amount so it does not happen, and there's problem with the box collider. So let's make it 16 by 1. 16.1 should be fine. 16 point. So let's now hit play. And now you should be able to see some seamless lines. So that's it for this game. So if you did like the video, do like and subscribe the channel, and if you have any suggestions for another which game I should create, do comment it below. And if you are new to the channel, do subscribe the channel, and thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next video.